You're listening to The Final Frequency. Tonight is different. I have been sitting in front of this microphone for 40 minutes trying to decide how to start this broadcast, how to find the line between the journalist I have spent 11 years trying to be and the person who knew Elara Voss, who worked alongside her, who heard her laugh in a radio booth not unlike this one, a long time ago, when we were both younger and the world seemed considerably more predictable. I have decided that the only way to do this is the way I do everything, with the truth. All of it. Even the parts that make me look like I waited too long. Elara Voss has been missing for 6 days. 6 days, and I am only now bringing it to this microphone. And I need to explain why. Not to excuse it, but because the explanation is part of the story, and the story is what matters. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I knew her. What matters is that 3 days ago someone sent me a file, an anonymous email, no subject line, no message, just an attached video file. I almost didn't open it. I did open it. And what I saw in that footage is the reason you are listening to this broadcast tonight. It is the reason I could not stay quiet for one more day. This is Cold Frequency. This is the case of Elara Voss. And this is where we begin. Before I tell you what I know, I want to tell you who she was. Because missing persons cases have a tendency to reduce people to their absence, to the fact of their disappearance. And Elara Voss was not an absence. She was a presence. A very specific and particular presence that anyone who encountered her tended to remember. I met her 11 years ago. We were both working at a regional radio station. She was 20 at the time, technically still a student, doing a placement year, terrifyingly competent for someone who had never worked a full shift in a professional studio before. She had this habit of arriving 30 minutes before her shift started, every single day. Not to impress anyone, she just liked being there early, she said. She liked the quiet of a studio before it woke up. I understood that completely. It is one of the few things I have always understood about other people, the need for a space before the noise starts. We worked together for 14 months. She was sharp, methodical, the kind of journalist who would spend 3 hours verifying a single fact that anyone else would have accepted in 5 minutes. It drove the producers slightly mad, and it produced the best work in the building. I told her once that she was going to be difficult to work with forever, and she took it as the compliment it was intended to be. We stayed in touch after she left, the way people stay in touch, occasionally, warmly, with genuine intention that never quite translates into actual time spent together. A message here, a comment there, a coffee that got rescheduled twice and then quietly abandoned. The last time I heard from her directly was 4 months ago. She sent me a link to a piece she had written, a long investigative feature for a national publication. It was excellent. I told her so. She sent back a single line. She wrote, "I think I'm finally getting close to something." I didn't ask what she meant. I assumed she meant professionally, a story she was working on, a career moment she could feel approaching. I did not ask. I think about that now quite a lot. Elara Voss was 29 years old. She worked as a freelance investigative journalist. She lived alone in a flat in the northern part of the city. She had a cat named after a radio frequency, 98.6, which she called Point .6. She ran half marathons badly and enthusiastically. She had strong opinions about coffee and very little patience for people who didn't have opinions about anything. She was not the kind of person who disappears. That is not a useful thing to say. I know that. Anyone can disappear. But what I mean is this. Elara Voss was organized, precise. She had a system for everything. Her research, her finances, her social commitments. She was the person who reminded other people about appointments they had forgotten. She was not chaotic. She was not reckless. Whatever happened to Elara Voss was not something she walked into carelessly. I am certain of that. 6 days ago, last Thursday, Elara Voss had a normal day. I know this because I have spent the last 3 days reconstructing it. speaking to people who saw her, who messaged her, who were with her at various points. And by all accounts, Thursday was unremarkable, right up until the point where it wasn't. She had a video call with an editor at 9 in the morning. The editor described her as focused, energetic, excited about something she was working on. She wouldn't say exactly what. She said she wanted to have more of it confirmed before she brought it to the publication. She had lunch alone at a cafe she went to regularly. The owner remembers her. She had her laptop open the entire time and ordered the same thing she always ordered and left a larger tip than usual. The owner says she seemed distracted. Not unhappy, just somewhere else in her head. She messaged a friend at 2:30 in the afternoon. I have seen the message. It said, "Going to follow something up tonight. Might be late. Talk tomorrow." The friend replied with a thumbs up. Did not ask what she was following up. Why would she? It was a normal message from someone with a busy professional life. At 6 in the evening, she was caught on a convenience store camera buying a bottle of water and a packet of mints. She looks, in that footage, exactly like herself. Purposeful, moving quickly, checking her phone as she pays. That is the last confirmed sighting of Elara Voss before the other footage. The footage I need to tell you about, the footage that was sent to me anonymously 3 days ago. Between 6 p.m. and 2:47 in the morning, there is an 8-hour and 47-minute gap in Elara Voss's known movements. Nobody saw her. Nobody received a message from her. Her phone, which her network provider has confirmed was active until approximately 11 p.m., sent no outgoing communications after the convenience store visit. At 11 p.m., her phone went dark. Not switched off, dark. The kind of dark that means no signal, which can mean many things. A dead battery, a tunnel, a basement, or a phone that was taken from her. I don't know which. The police have the phone records. They have not shared their interpretation of them. I need to tell you about the footage carefully, because it is the most important piece of evidence in this case, and I want to describe it accurately, without allowing what I felt when I watched it to distort what it actually shows. The file I received 3 days ago contains 43 seconds of CCTV footage. The timestamp in the corner reads 2:47 a.m. The date is last Thursday, 6 days ago. The location. The location is what stopped me breathing when I realized where it was. It is an access road behind the Callaway Industrial Estate, on the southern edge of the city, 7 miles from where Elara lived, 7 miles from the cafe where she had lunch. A road that serves a cluster of warehouse units, most of which have been unoccupied for the better part of 3 years. There is no reason for Elara Voss to be on that road at 2:47 in the morning. There is no reason for anyone to be on that road at 2:47 in the morning. And yet, there she is. In the footage, she is walking, moving at a normal pace. She is wearing the same jacket she was wearing in the convenience store footage 8 hours earlier. She has her bag on her shoulder. She does not appear to be running. She does not appear to be injured. She is not looking behind her. She is looking ahead of her, purposefully, like someone who knows exactly where she is going. And then she walks out of frame. That is it. 43 seconds. A woman walking down an empty industrial access road at 2:47 in the morning, looking like she knows exactly where she is going. And then, nothing. No further footage. No other cameras in the area picked her up. The industrial estate has its own CCTV system, but those recordings, I am told, are unavailable. Unavailable. I want you to think about that word. Unavailable. Not missing, not corrupted, not lost. Unavailable. Which is a word that implies a decision was made about their accessibility. Who made that decision? When? And why would footage from a mostly empty industrial estate require any kind of restricted access? I have been asking those questions for 3 days. I do not have answers yet. Elara Voss was reported missing on Friday morning by her friend, the one who received the message about following something up. When Elara didn't respond to messages by Friday afternoon and didn't show for a planned Saturday morning call, her friend filed a report. The responding officer noted that Elara was an adult, that there was no immediate evidence of foul play, that adults are entitled to go wherever they choose, that the report would be logged and reviewed. Logged and reviewed. By Saturday evening, 36 hours after she was last seen, the case had been assigned to a detective. I know this detective's name. I am not going to use it tonight because I want to give this investigation the benefit of the doubt for now. That benefit is running out quickly. By Sunday, 48 hours, no public appeal had been issued, no press release, no request for witnesses, nothing. I made contact with the press office on Monday. I identified myself as a journalist. I asked about Elara Voss. I was told the investigation was ongoing and that no further information was available at this time. I asked if a public appeal was planned. I was told that would be determined by the investigating officer. It is now Thursday, 6 days since Elara disappeared. There has still been no public appeal, no photograph released to the media, no request for anyone who was near the Callaway Industrial Estate in the early hours of last Friday morning to come forward. Nothing. I want to be precise about what that silence means. Every hour without a public appeal in a missing persons case is an hour in which potential witnesses are forgetting details, losing clarity on what they saw and when, moving on with their lives. The window for collecting accurate witness testimony is narrow. It closes fast. And the people responsible for keeping it open have chosen, for reasons I cannot explain, to keep it shut. I asked Elara's friend whether the detective had mentioned the CCTV footage from the industrial estate. She said the detective told her the footage was being reviewed. Being reviewed. I received that footage anonymously 3 days ago from a source I cannot identify. It exists. I have watched it 43 times, and the people whose job it is to find Elara Voss are still reviewing it. I find that very difficult to accept. I want to share some of what I have heard from people who knew Elara. Because the investigation needs witnesses, and the public appeal that should have happened days ago has not happened. So I am going to do what I can from this microphone. A former colleague of hers, I will call her N, worked with Elara at a publication 2 years ago. N told me that in the weeks before she disappeared, Elara had seemed different. Not distressed exactly. Energized. The way she got when she was deep in a story that was going somewhere. N said, she kept saying she had found a thread. That's how she described it. A thread. And she said once you find the thread, you just have to keep pulling. She didn't tell N what the thread was. She didn't tell anyone what the thread was. A second person, I'll call him T, lived in the same building as Elara. He said he saw her on Wednesday evening, the day before she disappeared, carrying a box of files from her car. He offered to help. She said she was fine. He said she seemed focused, said she barely registered him, which was unusual because she was normally very neighborly, always had time for a conversation. He said, it was like she was somewhere else entirely, like she was already in the middle of something. A third account. This one is important and I want to be careful with it. A woman, I'll call her F, contacted me after I put out a quiet inquiry through some professional contacts. F works at a planning office connected to the city council. She does not want to be identified. She was very clear about that. She said she has information about the Callaway Industrial Estate that she believes may be relevant to Elara's disappearance. She said, that site was supposed to have been decommissioned 2 years ago, and it wasn't. And some of us have been wondering why for a long time. I asked her what she meant by decommissioned. She said she couldn't say more on an open line. She said she would contact me again. That was yesterday. She has not contacted me again. I hope she is all right. I mean that genuinely. I want to be careful here. I am a journalist. I deal in confirmed facts and attributed sources. What I am about to share with you is not confirmed. It is a pattern. And patterns in investigative work can be meaningful, or they can be the mind finding shapes in noise. But I have been doing this long enough to trust certain patterns. Elara Voss was an investigative journalist who specialized in accountability reporting, corporate malfeasance, institutional failures, the gap between what powerful organizations say they do and what they actually do. That was her area. That was her thread. The Callaway Industrial Estate was officially decommissioned 2 years ago. It is listed in public records as non-operational, and yet F, the council planning officer who contacted me, says it wasn't decommissioned, says some people have been wondering why for a long time. A site that is listed as closed, but may not be closed. A journalist who finds a thread and keeps pulling, and who is last seen walking purposefully toward that site at 2:47 in the morning. I am not drawing a conclusion. I want to be very clear about that. I am not concluding anything tonight. I am describing a pattern, and I am asking you to hold it alongside everything else I have told you and make of it what you will. What I will say is this. In 14 months of working alongside Elara Voss, I never once saw her do anything without a reason, without a plan, without having thought through the steps ahead of her. If she was at that industrial estate at 2:47 in the morning, she was there because her reporting led her there. Something led her there. And whatever was at the end of that thread is, I believe, at the center of why she has not come home. It is late. I have been at this microphone for longer than I intended. I want to end tonight by asking for something specific. Not generally. Specifically. If you were near the Callaway Industrial Estate, that is the site on the southern edge of the city, accessed via Render Road off the southern bypass. If you were near there in the early hours of last Friday morning, between midnight and 4 a.m., I need to hear from you. Anything you saw, anything you heard, any vehicle you noticed, any light you shouldn't have seen coming from a site that is supposed to be dark and empty. Please contact me. The email is at the end of this broadcast. Everything you send is treated in confidence. I will not use your name without your explicit permission. I also want to say something that is harder to say professionally. Elara, if by some chance you are listening to this, if you went somewhere deliberately and you are safe, and you chose not to tell anyone because the story required it, I understand that. I have made versions of that choice myself. The story first, everything else second. But please, let someone know you're all right. Point 6 needs feeding. And the rest of us need to stop staring at our phones, waiting for a message that isn't coming. I spoke to her friend this evening before I came on air. She asked me if I thought Elara was okay. And I did what I didn't do for Jay last week, in a different broadcast, about a different kind of darkness. I didn't deflect. I didn't offer careful professional language. I told her I didn't know, but that I was going to keep looking until I did. That is what I can offer. This microphone, and the commitment to keep looking. Next week, I will bring you what I have found about the Callaway Industrial Estate, what it was used for, what it may still be used for, and who has an interest in keeping those answers unavailable. I will also bring you whatever F has to say, if F gets back in touch. F, if you're listening, take your time, but please come back. This is Cold Frequency, the case of Elara Voss. We are 6 days in and the trail is still warm. I intend to follow it wherever it goes. This is the final frequency. The signal returns in 48 hours. Stay connected for Elara.